This is what we need to do. This is going to bring that school to the next level.
That's Thinkering. This Thinkering process is going to be really transformational to all subjects that we're talking about.
The value of the Alliance is it's a thinking collective. Now we have a greater understanding amongst everyone. And that's not what's common in schools.
I always tell our students this can set you apart, make you stand out, something to remember you by. It's an opportunity to share. It's win-win all around.
I think the biggest part of what we do are the humans that we work with on the other side of that, right? Really see the human impact, the way that they're interacting and working with their community.
It really does have to flip. You should be able to think about that as your hero's journey, to be able to know this is how I was able to overcome.
And I feel like continuing that mission is really important.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Thinkering Minds, the podcast where we talk about humanizing education, focused on learning, empowering educators, the change makers and innovators who are doing something different and unique to make a difference. Today, we have with us Michael Sykes. He's the founder and CEO of Equitable Solutions. He's a value-driven leader who's focused on leadership, culture-rooted strategy, community empowerment, engagement. He has one of the cleanest covers for a book that I've ever seen. Every time I see it, it jumps out at me. Michael, welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you could probably definitely do a better job of introducing yourself than I can do. So have at it.
No, I like your introduction. You really hyped me up. But I'm Michael Sykes, like you said, founder, owner, Equitable Solutions. Really heart-centered leader that's really about supporting organizations and leaders and school districts with how to infuse culture and equity into their daily lives. A lot of times I see culture and equity as a checkbox, and we're just going to do it at the beginning of the year or when things get a little chaotic and we're just going to fix our culture. But this is something that you do, that you should be doing every single day. And I help it be accessible and attainable and sustainable all in one. So it becomes not necessarily a checkbox, but it becomes a habit that's done every single day.
Yeah, I like that. I really hadn't considered it to be practice. But, from my lived experience, it definitely feels like a checkbox that people use reactionary when heat is on, pressure's on. But we all know that if you're doing something, reactionary, you should probably be doing it on the front end. So there's not the need to be doing it, reactionary. So as a matter of practice, it's super important. What's the kind of 2 a.m. moment where you realize that you had to be the person who whipped out the machete and carved a path for others to follow down this line?
There was a point in my career and I noticed a pattern. I think I was supporting some different schools, and it seemed like every leader was saying the same thing or going through the same experience. And it's just my staff is burnt out. I just don't know what to do. Our staff attendance is super low. Our professional developments aren't people are not engaged in all these things. And I was just dang, it's this is rinse, repeat. The biggest thing I asked the leaders, how's your heart? And their heart was overwhelmed. And I was when's the last time you did something for you? Not you as a father, not you as a spouse, not you as, take off all the hats, so to speak. And 9 times out of 10, leaders said nothing. And I'm if you're not whole, you're not going to be able to lead right. And so if you're burnt out, you're inviting your staff to be burnt out. And so I was just I had to have this people-centered approach to see leaders as whole and people, not objects. And once I started to pour into the leaders and gave them outlets to be themselves and to heal and to be whole, their staff started to do the same thing. So it was just once again, rinse, wash, repeat, but it was really about getting leaders to slow down, to find joy again and get out of the hustle and bustle and moving at the speed of light, which I call the speed of self-destruction.
I like that. The speed of self-destruction. Yeah, I'm flying at that speed way too much. But that's a good point. Every educator, the administrators, people didn't get into education to do anything other than make joyful impact. That's what every single
Right.
person envisioned when they got into it, was making a difference and having a smile on their face with doing it and bringing a smile to other people's faces. And that's one of the fascinating things. When I first met you talk about easy equity, and in my mind, there's no such thing. So, hearing that term easy equity immediately just makes my exclamation mark, boing, what is that? So, like, how
Mhm.
do you define easy equity? Because from my perception, it's this impossible, never-ending challenge.
Yeah, I define equity as love for self, love for others, and love for humanity. That's equity to me. And easy equity is really based upon the premise the first most equitable journey you can go on is how you value and validate self. How you love you matters. So it should, in a sense, in theory, be easy to love you. 80% of self talk is negative. And so, like, my goal is we live majority of our life 80/20. If I can get you to 70/30, I wonder how your life's experiences would be. So it's all about positive affirmations. The first chapter in the Easy Equity book is gratitude for self. What do you love about you? What are your superpowers? Well, once again, take off all the hats and name those. And people find out a little hard, but once they get into the habit and the practice of writing 5 things about what they love about themselves every single day, you begin to focus on your light and your strengths versus not worrying about all the things that you can't do. Thus, that's equity. How you treating yourself and how you're talking life and light into yourself is equity. To me, that's easy.
It's funny because, like we said, like, we should all be able to love ourselves, but that's like the big struggle. It's so much easier to love someone else, but you don't see
Hmm.
the flaws that they carry. They hide them down in. We don't understand the struggles, but we see all our own flaws and we hold them high up, and
Hmm.
so it's hard to love yourself, even though it should be easy. All made, beautiful in the image of God. Like, we should. What's not to love? But at the same
Right.
time, we're so self-critical. And like you said, if we can just get it to 70/30, that still sounds horrible, but what a drastic difference that would make. A 10% reduction in negative, tar. That's not 10% reduction, but I'm not good at math, but a significant reduction, just, negative talk to ourselves and our environment and all of that stuff. It's really powerful. One of the things you mentioned was healing and leading with heart. And how does that play into it? Because that's the first time I've really heard that discussed in, alongside hand in hand equity.
In leadership, oftentimes we're focused on outcomes. What do we produce? And we get into all the technical and tactical, all these different frameworks, all these different processes to reach some kind of goal. What we forget in all this is the people aspect. Like, there's not a company that isn't in the people business. And oftentimes we forget about the very people that we need to support with reaching the outcomes. And everybody has a story. Everybody has value. Everybody has experiences. And so when you get to know people's story and you can build on shared experience, like, that's the heart work of the work. And so, like, I've always messed with this saying, like, people will never forget what you've done, but they always will remember how you made them feel. Like, what if we led in a way that made people feel good? Then you'll be a leader that nobody ever forgets, and you'll be a leader that people would be willing to run through walls because they know that you care. And that's the kind of leader I am, and that's how I try to coach other people to lead with their heart. Like, oftentimes we're doing things since, like, something with your gut doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. And so, like, how do we pause and take a breath and reflect on what we're about to do? And are we compromising something? Are we sacrificing something that isn't worth that kind of sacrifice? Our morals and values? And let's take a breath and then let's take the next right step, which might not necessarily be easy, but we're not sacrificing a part of our why, a part of our morals, a part of our values. And to me, that's too big of a sacrifice.
On your website, you have like the pivotal moments that led to equitable solutions, and I liked going through those. And like, you started off with the 3 pillars. Can you go into a little bit about that?
That's
The
my
women who taught you the strength to love, how to
shoot,
love self and
shoot.
others.
Yeah, anybody that knows me that knows that my grandma is my why. She is from Chicago. She was a part of the first graduating class of Malcolm X College. She's a registered nurse. And so my sister's 8 years older than me, Denver resident, born and raised. So when we would go to Chicago for the summers, my sister, 8 years older than me, she was in the streets of Chicago having fun and things like that. I was younger, so I had to go with my grandma. And my grandma supported elderly people. And like she would walk in a room. And I told the story many times. I still don't have the right language to say this. So I apologize if I'm offending anyone. Like these elderly people would seem like they would like rise from the dead. Like they would light up and they would smile and things like that. And she was a caretaker, so she would comb their hair. She like would wash their face and just listen to their stories. And I was just like, how, like, grandma, you must have superpowers. I'm thinking in my head, how are you making these people come to life and kind of light up? And so that happened all day. And we got in the car to leave. And I was like, grandma, how did you do that? Like, you are a superhero. And she's like, Mike, that's not just me, that's you. We're meant to bring light into the darkness and to value people because everybody has a story to tell. And so, like, I didn't want to hear that. Being 8 years old, I was playing basketball and wanted to be like a person in the late 80s, early 90s in Chicago. But fast forward until now, like, that is me. I just try to bring light into the world. I try to value and validate people. I try to see people. I try to be a voice for the silent, and I try to stand for the people that feel like that's been oppressed. And so that's me.
I think there's something beautiful in her recognizing that in you before you saw it in yourself, and
Yeah.
her
It's
calling the
weird.
shot.
Yeah, it's weird. And it's like it's the most beautiful compliment that I have ever received in my life. But in that moment, I couldn't receive it or I didn't necessarily care. But I think about that moment every single day, which also she's my North Star. So when I'm doing the right work and valuing people, I feel closer to her. She passed away 20, 30 years ago. So that's like my judgment. Like, do I feel closer to her? Do I feel her energy? I'm doing the right thing. If I'm off or I'm hustling or I'm moving too fast or I'm doing checkbox work, I feel like I'm distanced from her. And like when I feel distanced from her, I don't feel whole. So I do the things that
Yeah.
make me closer to her.
That's beautiful. Having the grandma know that she's the why is like
Mhm.
that's so awesome. What's the why for the like leaning into education, and what drew you to that?
I got into education because I had my son and I needed a job. I never thought I was going to be in education. I went to school for environmental architecture initially, but ended up starting off as a paraprofessional in an affective needs classroom. Those are students with emotional disabilities. So I that's how I got into education. And people were like, dude, you're really good with behavior. You're really good with kids. And I was looking at them like, y'all are crazy. Um, like, isn't everybody good with kids? Isn't everybody good with behavior? And what I know now is no, but it just kind of came natural to me. But it was a simpler approach of treating kids like human and people because they are. And I think that I know they just felt that I cared and I loved because I did. And so I invited the very behavior that I wanted to see by treating them with absolute respect. And I just moved up to 22, 23 years later, like still into education, but really focusing on my business.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then when we talk about the business, like what's the big challenge that you've come across with that?
Business is different from a 9 to 5. Like 9 to 5 is paycheck to paycheck ish, right? Business is contracts. Um, and so
Different kind of
like
stress.
you're only as good as your last contract kind of or deal where if you're have a job, you can count on that paycheck once a month or bi-weekly. The cool thing about business is like I get to do the things I want to do, so I don't have to deal with as much politics, and I can work with the people that are invested in the work. A lot of times I felt like I was trying to sell equity and culture to get people to believe in it so they could start doing the good work. But like it's hard to sell something to people that don't believe in it. And so
Yeah.
even if the teachers or all these things, the professional development was amazing and they loved it, the leadership still didn't buy in, it's going to end up falling flat, or inequity is going to happen with this leader oppressing teachers.
Why do you think there's that bridge with like you know, educators clamoring for your services and then some administrators not getting the picture?
I think administrators want to, but there's so many different asks and pressures on leaders. Like I would say as of like the last 5 years, I saw so much principal turnover. Like my first 10 or 15 years, you would have a principal for 10 or 15 years. Lately, it's averaging like three. So it's like the ask out of principals is it's a lot. It's too much. And so when you have to deal with attendance and grades and all these different pressures, you have to deliver unless your school's going to close or this all these other things with lower budget and less teachers, and we need higher test scores. People are trying to focus on the things that keep them a job. Culture and equity doesn't necessarily keep them a job. It will, but it's a hard when you're moving at the speed of self-destruction, the speed of light, to see it like that, because you're not really in thinking with your prefrontal cortex. Like you're reacting, just like you said, Jim, you're reacting to everything. So if the district said, I need to do this, this is what I'm going to do, versus taking a breath and say, what's the best next step for this school and what do my teachers need? And we know teacher burnout is high. So teachers need to be valued and validated and seen as whole beings, and in a way that's sustainable. And so they know how to value and validate themselves, and they know how to pour into themselves. Then they're not necessarily hustling to be seen or doing things to check boxes, nor are you having to pour into each and every teachers because you built their capacity to pour into themselves.
The things that I like you that you did was it's your book is not just a book, it's also a workbook. And when I thought about that, I was like, that makes like creating it not twice as difficult, but like 5 times more difficult. What was the motivation to kind of combine the two?
I've done professional developments and amazing. Everybody's brought in. I've seen equity initiatives, and some I had this speaker, and once the professional development done or the amazing speaker is gone, equity and culture stops. That's it. And so I didn't want to write a book that's the same. Sometimes I can remember, I read a lot and I can't remember what the last book I read was, just because I'm on to the next book, and it's just, it's not, I got so many things going through my brain. And I know how people learn. Like there's something about writing in a journal and writing things down that supports with muscle memory and things like that. So I really took a teacher practice, I do, we do, you do kind of approach. So it's a workbook. Easy Equity is a workbook slash guide slash planner, so to speak. Not planner, workbook. And so I wanted people to learn the skill, then practice the skill, then make the skill a daily habit. And so that's how I built the book. So now you're not dependent on me to be a charismatic leader or this cool new book. Once you buy Easy Equity, in a sense, you don't need me, which isn't good for marketing and making money. But I want people to like love themselves. So whatever they write in the book and whatever their practice is, it's automatically tailored to them because they're writing it. So it's automatically for you. So when you have those bad days and those rough days, you literally can go back to your journal, go back to the workbook, and like practice what you wrote and practice what you preach. So now, like, that doesn't die. It lives on forever, and you always can add to it and update it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing because when we're in those low moments, when we're feeling stress and pressure, it's hard to remember those like powerful breakthrough movements we've had previously where we had the solution. We don't have to feel overwhelmed. We've been here, we've done this, we've conquered. And when you can kind of go back and see, like, oh, 6 months ago, I was right here. I've already beat it. That pressure is fake. I don't have to feel it. Like put yourself back in that position of victor, not victim. Like let's go out
Yes.
and crush it. And that's one of the things that I like. And then like I always talk about how clean the cover is. The one thing that strikes me about it is, the picture, I'll pull it up on the screen when we do the cut, but there's like the mountain and then the fog, and it's easy equity. And I instantly see this giant mountain in front of me that I both want to go climb and venture out towards, but I also see, it looks formidable, and it all says like so much at the same time that there's a journey here to be had. You're gonna have to exert some energy. You're gonna have to give something of yourself.
Hmm.
But like always, once you get to the peak and to the other side, uh, you're not the same person anymore.
You're
And
right.
that's what comes across just from the cover when I look at it. Is like you dive in here, you cross that mountain, and you're not the same person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's all of that. Well done. Thanks, Jim. Uh, and you are that mountain.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You have lineage, you have legacy, you have your ancestors dreamed about you. And so there's a foundation there. And similar, like what we were just talking about, like check your receipts. You overcome so much, you did so much, and that counts. And so you might think you're low, but that's more of a valley. You're still a mountain. You're still above sea level, and you should know that, and you can get credit that the saying on the book says conquer the mountain that is you. So now it's more about you recognizing that you're a mountain and getting out of your own way with these practices that are in the books, because we are as strong as a mountain, and we will be around as long as mountains have, because they existed for over millions of years. So how you talk to yourself, how you model for other people can have this ripple effect that can exceed time and space.
I like that. With the educators who go through the program and get to that other side of their own personal mountain, what's the big universal takeaway they all have? Is there one? Is there a
Yeah, I think the biggest universal takeaway that when I worked with several schools is like people are happier, like they're smiling, and they have joy of doing the work. And I'm just like, I didn't know the effect easy equity would have on people, to be quite honest. I didn't write it. When I was writing easy equity, I was healing myself, and I was healing parts of myself that I didn't even know needed healing. So oftentimes in like my notebook, like there's tears on the page where I'm literally crying and writing. And I just kind of figure, like, if this is helping you, Mike, other people might need the same help. But when people brought the book and they start implementing it, it didn't all the way make sense to me, because I was like, this is too easy. I keep saying the first chapter is gratitude for self. And if you do gratitude for self, you write down 5 things that you love about you. If you do it for a week, that's 35 things that you love about you. If you do it for a month, that's 140 things that you love about you. If you do it for a year, that's 1,825 things that you love about you. So when you have those downtimes versus what you wrote about what you loved about you, there's no comparison. And even people doing it for a month or two, I can see a shift in their energy. Like there's this, I talk about affirming language and denying language. Affirming language is anything that pours into yourself. Denying language is anything that takes away from you. And I heard people holding each other accountable with how they talk to about themselves. So I heard this principle is like, wait, you want to reframe that? Because that's denying language. And I think too much about you for you to be using denying language in front of me. And like that was mind blowing, because a lot of times when you're doing culture and equity work, people don't really want to quote unquote call people out or call them in, because it's like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake. But they were super comfortable with saying, no, you're not going to talk bad about yourself in front of me. And that's a different kind of culture when you know somebody's not going to allow you to talk bad about yourself. And I thought that was like one of the coolest things I saw that Easy Equities supported with, because it brought everybody closer and it held everybody accountable with loving themselves.
And I like that one a lot because you instantly tell that that person who's not going to allow someone else to speak poorly about themselves in their present sees them as an extension of who they are. And they're not going to
Mhm.
let you talk down about them and the people they love and care about, which is you.
You.
And
Yep.
yeah. So that's just like it builds. It's almost something you see in like sports teams where with
Mhm.
leaders where you're not going to let the guy who missed the shot carry that weight.
Yep.
It's got to get off his shoulders because he's still the professional who everybody believes in and chose to be on the team.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome, beautiful thing. What's the big hurdle that you come across in your work that is it's just hard to break through? Is it like, because in my mind as an outsider, there's always like messaging around equity. There's always it's turned into a political issue and a social issue when it's a human issue. So, it's not whatever side of the coin you're on that week. It's just, are you a human? Then you should care about this. Like
Yes.
what's your opinion on like the big hurdle that you have to overcome?
It's the social political climate. Literally, when Easy Equity first came out, was equity was okay to say. Now it isn't. And so people were like, oh, are you going to change the name? And I was like, no, because it's do I want and need book sales? Yes, but it's also about the message. And I'm not going to change the title, because like what equity means to me is love for self, love for others, and love for humanity. I'm not shifting. Like once again, if I would have switched out equity for engagement, I feel like I was taking a step away from my grandma. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to do that. And I want to make equity like a household name, Easy Equity, a household name in a way that's not taboo and not scary. And so,
Mhm.
like, even with DEI, before this administration, equity was always invited this kind of visceral response from people one way or another. And I don't think it should. I think when you hear equity, I want people to, the first thing they think about when they hear the word equity is like, how have I been treating me? Like that's how I want people to start thinking about equity. Like, am I being nice to me? How's my heart? How am I breathing? How's my pace? Am I moving too fast? Like that's when you think of equity, I want people to start thinking about how they treat themselves. So
Yeah.
that's my goal. But the social political climate is the biggest barrier. So when they say easy equity, they're like, most people are like, oh my God, this is scary. And I was like, just give it a chance. And when I can convince them to like take a look at it, they're just like, this is weird and this is different, but it makes so much sense. I don't understand why we haven't been doing this.
Yeah. Because like when, like the political, social, equity issue, it sounds like there's a division between haves and have nots. And that's kind of the extent that we typically think about it, is in terms of like have and have nots, or people who have more than or less than or opportunity. And then you're the first person I really thought encountered who put in a perspective of self-love and how are we treating ourselves. And that really made me think, if you love yourself, you're really not capable of treating others poorly. The narcissist doesn't love themselves. That the narcissist hates themselves and then treats other. But the person who loves themselves truly and has conquered their own mountain doesn't have the room for hatred in their heart. They don't have
Nope.
the room to stand on platform one while others are forced to stand on platform two. Like none of that exists in people with people with self-love. And maybe that's the big issue, is that as a society, we all have so much internal disgust with ourselves that we're not able to turn to their neighbor with with an open, easy heart that's just full and ready to love. So maybe you're onto something with just starting with yourself and just conquering that mountain that is you. And then once you can get there, then you're open to truly loving and seeing your neighbor as they are, another mountain that's working to conquer itself with the same issues. Yeah, that's like a beautiful thing for like educators, administrators, like businesses, organizations, parents, that to look at how to first love themselves so they can love others. What's that first step that they should take?
To me, visit my website, buy a book, or schedule or email me, and we can schedule a call. So I can tell you more about it, some options, some services that we provide. I do want to back up a second, Jim, because like what you were saying really resonates with me, and I think DEI, how it existed even like 2 or 3 years ago, was a bit off. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it was a bit off. I saw DEI put the cart before the horse. And what I mean by that, we were asking oftentimes white people to value and validate different cultures, different races, different genders. And when often seen, they didn't know how to value and validate themselves. And that invited resistance. Why does this race, why does this gender, why does this culture get so much love when I don't get love? And so I will fight tooth and nail to hold on to the little bit of love that I think that I have, because I don't think it's fair.
But then that's not real love if you're having to fight and hold on tooth and nail. That
Exactly.
desperation.
It's a false reality. And to be quite honest, I don't want that love that
Yeah,
you're fighting to hold on to, because that's surface type love. And
yeah,
easy equity supports with depth. And you know yourself better. You know yourself to the core. And I don't need surface level love. I need that deep love where you understand my stories and experience. So the more you know me, the better you're able to appreciate me.
yeah,
Excuse me. The more you know you, the more you're able to love me.
yeah.
And so like that's what I kind of heard you saying. So easy equity, they were like, how does that really support with them doing the real quote unquote equity work? I was like, it kind of automatically does, because you're really getting at the root cause. A lot of times DEI never gets at the root, is treating symptoms. Symptoms don't change anything. Root cause does. When we have better people that know themselves and appreciate themselves, they're not hustling to be seen. They're not doing things to get likes and to be valued and validated by other people to get a pat on their back. So now they're not shackled in everybody else's reality. And so when you know how to value and validate yourself, that's liberatory. That's liberation. Now you get to decide what's right and wrong, and you know how you want to be treated. So now you're able to treat other people that same way.
Yeah. And the empowerment to not cave to like
Mm,
societal pressures at that point because you've stood on 10 toes. You are the mountain that's conquered itself
yep.
and you have nothing but love in your heart. Like
Yeah.
what outside influence could negatively impact you at that point, it's just yeah, that's something great. With what's the big thing that people can do like right now today to start building that habit like we talked about and put it in practice? Is the first step truly just look at yourself and love yourself? Is it just start right there?
Yeah, I would tell everybody to look in the mirror, and what is the most tenderest, I don't know, tenderest is a word, but it is today, tenderest thing that you can say to yourself with love. Like, say that, and then say you're deserving of love, and you're deserving of joy. And this world's a better place because you're in it. And like, that's a start. Like, I think we forget that you said it, Jim. Like, we're God's creation and we're created in his image. And I believe he doesn't make, or he, she, they, I don't know, makes mistakes. And so if we can be gentle and kind with ourselves and start moving at the speed of self compassion, which I call the speed of love, like that's the best next step. That's the entry level. And then I would say like grab a book. Easy Equity is going to support with taking you on a journey of self-love and like healings, so to speak. I don't think I'm a healer or anything like that. But easy equity supports with creating an environment as centering yourself so you can heal. And like be willing to go through that journey because you're capable of so much more. You're enough. I would want everybody to know that they're enough, but they're capable of being so much more. And that's exciting to me.
Yeah, that's a good spot to end it, everybody. You're capable of being so much more. That's enough. I like it. What's anything we want to shout out or bring up before we close out?
Visit the website, follow me on social media. I think it's Equitable Solutions Colorado for Instagram,
We'll
at
drop the
Equitable
links in the
Solutions
description.
for TikTok. I'm posting things constantly, just kind of trying to give about nuggets. So if you like it, please follow and please reach out to me. I love conversations. I love meeting with people, and I'm here to serve you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody pick up a copy of Easy Equity. That way you can start to conquer the mountain that is you. And if we can learn to love ourselves, then we can start to learn to love each other and express better gratitude and
Yes.
self-alignment. And I want to get your slogan right, because I always like the way you put it out there. But what is it? You said moving at the speed of not self-destruction, but moving at the speed of love. And you used another one too.
The first one I said, moving at the speed of light is moving at the speed of self-destruction. The second one I said, I encourage people to move at the speed of self-compassion, which is the speed of love.
There you go. Yeah, I like that one. All right, everybody, let's all move at the speed of self-compassion. I appreciate it, Michael.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Love the term thinkering, and we'll definitely use it in my classroom. The kids will love it.
This is where we can be that peer support network with each other. When the big picture clicks, it's beautiful when you get administrators and teachers together.
You can't be a leader of other people if you can't first lead yourself, right?
Helps the educator have a very clear and structured framework.
Becomes this real community hub. If you're a great educator, you're looking for the most powerful moment. Can we inspire kids to believe that the world needs who they were made to be?
I hope you guys continue to uphold that legacy and continue, finding kids like you.